Greetings, everyone. On this full moon, decided to do a live. See if I'm allowed to even do a live. As I'm here and I'm lighting a fire. I light a fire. Let me show you the fire on this full moon. Let me see if I can do this. There you go. And that's the fire that I'm focusing on transmutation. And ancestral communion is what I want to talk about. That's the thing that's been on my mind. Ancestral communion, which is really accepting that aspect of yourself. Let me say, first of all, let me go forward and correct myself. My name is Elochuku Sankofa Ezioko, the Savant, also known as Cleon Carr. And I welcome in ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls who are now kings and queens, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. So I'm here now participating in this communal ancestral communal, right? Communicating with the ancestors. Greetings, Rasnaya. Decided to do a live today, no? Being that YouTube is allowing me to do a live, I'm happy to see you here. I'm happy to see you here with me today. So, as I'm saying, I was sharing my full moon communion with the ancestors. I am my ancestors, and sharing what it is that I have learned about myself. And the main thing that I see that I have learned about myself since the last video, which has been quite some time, is the aspect of self that we call ancestor. You know, the aspect of self, that we call ancestor, right? Now, I'm coming into this awareness, this thing we call self-awareness. And one of the beautiful things that I am seeing is in communicating with my ancestral self, I'm also communicating with the ancestors, you know? The ancestors that, for example, give you an example. Ancestors like Marcus Garvey, ancestors like the great Bob Marley, ancestors like John Henry Clark, Malcolm X, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, you know, the ones who we call freedom fighters, Nanny of the Maroons, Francis Cress Welsing, you know, Bobby Emmett, the people who we say are a certain community, the conscious in the black population, say that they're doing a effort to free the minds of our people. The main thing that I have found out is to go along with not go along to resonate with the one who they call Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey, at some point in his life, said that the main mistake that he made was to try to change the minds of men without changing the hearts of men. That is when I see that Marcus Garvey was coming into some self-awareness. You know, and I must say that what I'm talking about is not for the it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody, because there is only a few that have a certain self-awareness. Just like me I talk about Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey said him try to change the hearts of the minds of men without changing the hearts of men. Because he's realizing that people are not self-aware. And if you're not self-aware, one of the main things that you do is give the oppressor. You can call it the oppressor, you can call it the white supremacist, you can call it chaos. I like to refer to it as chaos. You can call it the demon, you can call it the devil. You know, me personally, I'm coming into the realization that I'm coming into the realization that chaos is a preferred way to look at this, because there's chaos within me, there's the demon within me, there is you within me. As I practice my ancestral awareness, Ubuntu or Ubuntu, I am because we are. So I'm saying that one of the main problems with this conscious black movement or conscious movement in life is that people are not self-aware. So you are fighting the enemy, the quote-unquote enemy without, when the enemy within is reaping all the benefits. So I am yet to hear of a conscious movement that the person goes forth, right? The person goes forward with self-awareness. Because once you have self-awareness, you take back your power from chaos. You take it back from the demon. If your trauma includes colonization, you take it back from the colonizer. You take it back from the white supremacists. You take it back from the people who are prejudiced. You take it back from the black people. You take it back from the white people. And you see that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. Right? Now, what does that mean? It means that your primary task is to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you make. Right? And as, who is this? Newbie 19th or Newbie 10-9H is saying, just whip it out, bro. All right. And somebody is saying that, do I want $100? No, I'm not interested in monetary currency. I have all the monetary currency that I need right now, that I want. What I'm interested in is reciprocation, within the collective. Within the collective, that is what I'm looking for. So even when I come on this live tonight as my ancestral self, I'm looking for reciprocation. As my spirit say, okay, go ahead this full moon and do the live, Let's see what I attract. So that is what I'm doing. I'm seeing what I attract. There's 7 people in the chat, right? And that is beautiful. 7 is the number of manifestation, right? So right now, according to YouTube, I have manifested 7 people in the chat right now, and it just go to 4, which is the foundational balance. So in any case, I'm talking about ancestral communal. Some people call it ancestral worship, right? And seeing that this ancestral communal is bringing about for me self-awareness. Self-awareness. What is the self-awareness telling me? That I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. What does that mean? The primary thing is that we are here to forgive ourselves of the trauma that we have. Right? We are here to forgive ourselves of the trauma that we have. And that leads me to the story, a narrative of explaining how it is that we got here, how it is that I got here. So one of the story that I have is that while I was in source as the perfect being, I decided I wanted to have the experience on earth. And one of the premise of coming to earth is that you're going to have a human experience. In having the human experience, there's this thing called chaos, which is primarily an ethereal understanding. And then as it relates to the manifestation, as it relates to mankind, the understanding is trauma, right? So everybody who is on earth has some kind of trauma. The birthing process is trauma, right? Your mother has to bear some trauma in bringing you into or on this earth, right? Another aspect is that there's, I found you have 4 main types of trauma. There's what you call childhood trauma, there is generational trauma, there is ancestral trauma, and there is cosmic trauma, right? Those are the 4 main traumas that I see right now, because we're all cosmic beings, right? The thing is, the premise of coming here, that trauma is forgetting certain things. So some people come and they forget based on their contract. You know, for me right now, I'm focusing on the ancestral self, right? And seeing that in forgetting my ancestral self, I forgot that I was the one who had the power to come here to have this experience. And the term honor thy mother and thy father, right? And the earth, so that thy days may be well with you, comes to mind. Because what that is saying to me is that we are all one race of people, right? One race, different varieties of people. No different than you have the felines species, and you have tigers, cat, leopards, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a similar situation where you have different type of human beings, but we are one human race. Right now, in that human race, the people who we call black people are indigenous people, African people. From what I'm remembering, is the source of the progenation, the source of the dispersion of the human race, right? Now, that being said, as a being that remembers itself, I have my power in myself. And as I have my power in myself, that means that I don't blame any race of people for anything. That is the premise of my existence right now. I do not blame, I do not cast blame. Because once you cast blame, you're automatically casting judgment, which is to say you're automatically giving away your power. Right? That is to say you're automatically giving away your power. So, one of the things you find in the Black Power conscious movement is that black people, as they have not accepted white people as their own sons and daughters, they tend to blame them for their downfall, so to speak. And it's not to blame them for the downfall, because we choose to come here to have a certain experience. In that certain age of chattel slavery, now it's mostly about mental slavery, right? In the age of chattel slavery, what was happening is that people decided to come here to have the experience of chattel slavery, right? And in coming to have the experience of chattel slavery, or to transmute your chaos and to be free, to be a sovereign being, right? While even existing in chattel slavery itself. So it's the moment you start to blame, cast blame, you give away your power. You can never free yourself. And the whole objective of coming here is to remember that you are a sovereign being. Remember that you are source. As it's saying in the Bible, know ye not that ye are gods. Right? So I encourage people in the chat, ask any question, any question at all, and to resonate with this frequency as I am here communing with my ancestor. You are also my ancestor, So people like Rasnaya, we share ancestry. Newbie, we share ancestry. Yeah, everyone, we share ancestry. You stay safe as well, Rasnaya. So, if anybody has noticed anything, where does it know? Strange in these days, put it in the chat. We could have a conversation. This is why I'm here today, to have this conversation. And I'm trusting that you who are tuning in is also wanting to have the conversation. So, as I was saying, that when we come here, we choose to come here to have this experience, and in having this experience, we agree to put our power, so to speak, in a chaos bank. And we have to take back that power. And nobody can take that power from us. So even within ourselves, when we see ourselves making certain mistakes, forgetting certain things, it is because we have given the power over to that aspect of self, that false self. Once you give your power over to that false self, you stop remembering certain things. And it is to make that chaos orderly again. And that is where I'm going to leave this live. And I give thanks for everyone. As Naya said, I man don't view television or try to keep up with what's current. I remain in nature at all times. Yes, Rasnaya, nature is the thing. Nature is the thing. Because we are natural beings. And this is what I see, as I gear myself towards nature, right? As I gear myself towards nature, as I remember that I'm a natural person, I communicate with the trees, I communicate with the birds, I communicate with the bees. There you go. And see what bird would grace me with their presence. All right. Today I was feeding, I feed some birds during the day, some blue jays, and I feed some squirrel. And I got a message through observing and communicating with the birds, the blue jays, right? And that message, I saw, well, let me tell you how I view the birds and the squirrel. I view the birds and the squirrel as 5D creatures, fifth dimensional creatures, low frequency beings, versus the lizards, who I view as 3D beings. So anyways, in communicating with the birds and the bees, not the birds and the bees, with the birds and the squirrel today, right? I see that the squirrel attacked the bird, the blue jay. And as the squirrel attacked the blue jay, I've never seen that before. And I shouldn't even say attack. The squirrel pounce on the blue jay, right? And I heard the blue jay squeak, right? I've never seen it before. And the message that I got from that is that there's grounding taking place right now. Just as there's a full moon and there's a transmutation. Full moon means transmutation time. So the transmutation is that there's a grounding procedure that is taking place, which is what I'm participating in right now, right? There's a grounding procedure taking place. And that grounding procedure is letting the spiritual thoughts, because the birds represents the spiritual thoughts, is letting the spiritual thoughts, which I translate into the ancestors, right? So the squirrel who is grounding is transmutating, and in transmutating, the bird was out of place, even though they were in a tree. So the squirrel let the bird know that, hey, you're not paying attention, or you've done something inappropriate. You're in a chaos mindset. Because the squirrel never attacked the bird, or the squirrel never pounced on the bird, and the bird received it and move on. Which tells me that there's transmutation taking place in the earth, where we as people, me as a benevolent being, is seeing that some of my ancestors are malevolent ancestors. They're not in an orderly state, they're in a chaotic state. You know, and as you transmute and ground in the earth will let you know which ancestors have not been in an orderly state. You know, it's like an example I give just earlier is with Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was saying that he made a mistake. As great as Marcus Garvey is, and according to the Black Conscious Movement, or the Black Rebellious Movement, or the Black Revolutionary Movement, there is none greater than Marcus Garvey when you look at the amount of people that Marcus Garvey galvanized. Over 6 million people, they say, worldwide. And there has never been another movement to galvanize black people in an effort to become conscious. And Marcus Garvey himself said that he made a mistake. You know? And me seeing that Marcus Garvey make a mistake is the me in the grounding place, transmuting and telling the bird that, yes, you know, I see you and you're in the wrong place. You see what Ras Naya said, even though they share the same space, the bird could have been the positive charge, and the squirrel grounding it caused that charge by the squirrel to pop. That is what I am saying. That is what I am saying, Ras Naya. Right? Because they share the same space in the tree. And as you say, I think you're saying this perfect. You're saying that they share the same space. The bird could have been the positive charge, and the squirrel grounding it caused a charge by the squirrel to pounce. Now how I see that? I see that as you saying the squirrel grounding, that means the squirrel is receiving the negative charge. Right? The squirrel is receiving the negative charge by grounding, and the bird has the positive charge. Right? So therefore, it goes from negative to positive. And that is a beautiful way of reading the situation. We weeding out the negativity, so to speak. You know? And as I transmute the situation, it's the negative charge in the earth that the negative charge in the earth of the imbalance of the ancestral communion that is being transmuted as I was witnessing the space. And as you say, causing an electric reaction. There you go. Right? So right now, as I'm saying, in this full moon, I am causing an electric reaction. There's an electric reaction within me right? I'm transmuting the demons. I am making chaos within myself as I am grounding. I am making chaos within myself become orderly, right? Making chaos within myself become orderly, recognizing that it is for me to forgive myself of my trauma, of my wounds, so that I can ascend in this lifetime, so that I can transcend the physicality, the materiality of this colonialist mentality, of this white supremacist, colonialist, narcissism, womanizing. These are the demons that I find within myself. Covert narcissists, womanizing, as I said before, having a tendency to want to reject and abandon my own children, you know, not respecting my partner, not respecting the earth, you know, because another thing I saw today is how the mentality of man is to enslave the earth in this current dispensation of time that humans are existing in. The currency that they are putting on the earth is one of enslavement. And Rasnaya said, the moon also could represent the impressionable mind, while the sun is the penetrable mind, causing an electric flow of creation. Right? Impressionable mind. And if I get this, if I overs what it is that you're saying is that in this full moon, in this time of impressionable mind, when the waters rise, the sun is causing an electric flow of creation. Talking about positivity, talking about Rastaman vibration, talking about just positive vibration overall, seeing the creation, seeing the flow from the sun through the moon, and vice versa too. Yes, that is how I see it. You know, so as me talk about mankind dispensation upon the earth in this era, I am seeing how the enslavement currency of mankind. One of the things is even the trees. When you see man plant, after them cut down a whole bunch of trees, deforestation them call it, right? Deforestation. And then them plant back this one heap of tree again, right? Now, them plant back the trees with a specific purpose, just like how them cut down the tree with a specific purpose, which the purpose is a malevolent purpose. It's not a good purpose. It's to use the resources in a chaotic way, right? And when them plant back the trees, them in such a way that the forest that was once there, that they are now replacing, the forest is sterile. So they've enslaved the trees, they've enslaved the earth, they've enslaved the air, they've enslaved the waters, you know, and this is trauma upon the earth. So I'm seeing how the trees are my ancestors. The trees are my ancestors because the trees are in a dimension that we call 2D. Right? The rocks and minerals, that's 1D. The trees and plant life is 2D. Human beings and animals are 3D. Right? And then depending on what state your soul is as a human being, you extend that soul condition into 4D, 5D, 6D. Right now, I'm seeing I'm having a 5D experience as it relates to the soul. So I'm having a soul awakening. And some people describe it as you're on a different frequency, having this soul awakening, which means that you're seeing things with your third eye that the typical person won't see. Not only are you seeing them, because seeing it doesn't put you in the soul accountability. You have to see it and hold yourself accountable. And when you see it and hold yourself accountable, you can't do certain things, or you have chosen not to do certain things that 3D mentality people do. For example, one of the things clearly that I see is voting. You don't participate in any kind of voting, any kind of governmental aspects, because you recognize that every single government on the earth right now is against sovereignty. Every single government on the earth right now is against sovereignty. Right? And that is the thing. So, when you see every single government on the earth is against sovereignty, you have to recognize that you cannot participate in any governmental policy. This thing that they call politics, the political affairs of men. When you're in a 5D, which is the love frequency, when you put away the false self, right, to the degree where you see the government in every action that they are taking as being representatives of the malevolent force, you now choose to hold yourself accountable and do not put your energy there. You do not react. You do not reciprocate malevolent energy. Not that you can reciprocate. It's a reactionary measure. You're in a default state, which makes you a puppet of the system. Right? Greetings, greetings, divine greetings. Divine Energy Studio. So yeah, so this is what I am seeing in this full moon time, where there is the for me, I'm practicing ancestral communion, which is bringing about a self-awareness within my soul, where I can definitively say that I am accepting my mission here on earth, where I'm accepting my purpose here on earth, where I'm accepting the desire that I had to be here on earth. Not only accepting, I'm holding myself accountable as I have acknowledged that it is only through my own energy that I am here. So the primary task is to forgive yourself and to order chaos, to make the chaos that you have put into place here, to put that chaos in an orderly manner so that you can have a divine experience. Otherwise, you're having a malevolent experience. You're having a default experience. You're having a chaotic experience. You're having a demonic experience, which you are allowed to have per your desire. You know, there are those of us who have awoken to the truth within our soul. And that is how it is now that we are practicing ancestral communion in self-awareness, that we are our ancestors. And the ancestors are us. And as Ras Naya said, separate from yourself from society. The fire, look, the fire just break down. I was about to, let me show you that again. I was about to cut off the live, and the fire just break down, caused me to jump too, you know. And as I'm reading the words of Ras Naya saying, separate yourself from society and live a sovereign life, and that is it. You know, is not to fight this mentality that I used to have of fighting the system. It's not to fight the system. And when you say separate yourself, this is how I understand separate yourself. It means to be in the flow of the oneness. Because automatically by being in the flow of the oneness, you are held apart. Not that you want to be held apart. Society holds you as being apart from them. You are the stranger. You have become the stranger. You have become the other. You know, and depending on the solicitation, depending on your chaotic energy, how you choose to have your experience. Some people choose to have the experience that the moment they are operating in a certain separation, they are going to galvanize certain chaotic energy towards them. Like, for example, the one who they call the Christ. Right? As Christ is separate from those who ended up, or those who chose to transition Christ, those who chose to kill Christ. That is Christ's purpose for coming here. He didn't come here for people to kill him. He came here to live so that he may die. And in his contract, that is how he work out his situation. Now, as Rasnea is saying, separate yourself. Like me, I separate myself completely. And in separating myself, I give you an example of my partner. My partner had an encounter with a family member. And the family member proceeded to fight my partner. And my partner did not fight this family member. My partner didn't run away. She just chose not to fight. So while the person was throwing their blows, my partner would not return a blow. Right? My partner would not return a blow. At the same time, as that encounter ended, my partner separated herself. Now, at that point, it was up to the other family member to chase my partner or not. And apparently, that was not in her contract, so she left my partner alone, at least physically. And this is how I'm seeing that we are to operate with the government, with other people, with any malevolent force, with any chaotic force. You alchemize. It's always a process of alchemizing. You're not running away. You're not fighting. You're always alchemizing. That is in me in communion with my ancestral self, which is linked to Kemet. Me in communion with my ancestral self. This is what my ancestral self is saying. It's all about alchemy. The malevolent forces, the chaotic forces, the demonic forces will put narratives on you, such as they put on Nanny of the Maroons when they say Nanny, run away. These are the terminologies that they use. When you alchemize and separate yourself, they will say you run away. Automatically, right away, default-wise, they are building a story, right? They are building a story to attack you. They say things like Nanny would fight or come and raid the plantation to free slaves. Now, Nanny being a sovereign being, I am hearing from my ancestors that is madness. Once you separate yourself, it is not for you as a sovereign being. This is what my ancestors are telling me. It is not for you as a sovereign being to then go into these places to go and free anyone. Should that person free themselves and come unto you to be in your presence and share in the sovereignty, then that is it. Because we don't fight flesh and blood. We don't fight material. We don't fight at all. We alchemize. Sovereign beings alchemize because they recognize that the material realm is an illusionary realm. The real realm is still illusionary. Spirit over flesh. Alchemy. That's why in Kemet they spoke about alchemy. Talking about turning lead into gold. Talking about the transitionary period. Realizing, recognizing that there's no such thing as death. That which is deemed to be death in translation is a transition. And it is to be held in the mind at all times that this is what it is. It is a transition. The moment you don't hold it as a transition, you are going to develop a judgment, and you're going to project that judgment somewhere. First unto yourself, fear, and then unto others, greater fear. If you can extend greater to fear. So Rasnaya said, when Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, he wasn't speaking of himself, he was speaking of the Father. Now, as I interpret that, what he said, he was speaking of the Father, I'm hearing the masculine energy. The masculine energy is the creative force. So when you respect and become that creative force that listens to the feminine instructions, then you have put yourself in the divine path. When you've become that divine masculine, you have put yourself in the divine path, consistently listening, consistently receiving or obeying, honoring the instructions of the divine feminine. Some would say the mother. And you can speak some more again, Rasnaya, when you say I am was how he presented himself to Moses. You know? So, you know, it's a pleasure to have this transmission tonight. You know, it really is a pleasure to have this transmission tonight in this full moon space, in this ancestral communal space. It really is a pleasure, you know, to share this transmutation with the ones and ones. And as I like to say, with the ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls, men and women who are now kings and queens, spiritual being of this divine matrix. You know? So, with that being said, you know, this is my ancestral communal with the ones and ones, and is give thanks, Rasnaya. My definition of I am is intelligent awareness manifesting. Yes, we give thanks for that. We give thanks for that. You know, and with that, you know, we give thanks for the time. We give thanks for the energy. We give thanks for the moment. We give thanks for the journey. We give thanks for the experience. We give thanks for ordering of chaos. We give thanks for Ma'at. We give thanks for honor. We give thanks for justice. We give thanks for balance. Right? We give thanks for love. We give thanks for peace. We give thanks for respect. And we give thanks for everything that is positive. Because it is with the positive that we galvanize the negative. And have the experience, setting chaos in an orderly way so that we can maintain a communication with source and be in joy as we experience the revelation. Give thanks once and once.